Welcome back, guys, to MVP Family Method. It seems like it is going to be game number 3, and this may be the last one for MVP Black and MVP Miracle, and the last one for us and you guys too for Korea this weekend.
So hopefully we will have a more competitive game than the last one we saw. It ended sub 10 minutes, sub level 10.
Yes.
And I don't know. We have to applaud MVP Black for being so decisive, so strong on that particular map, but it was a little bit disappointing from MVP Miracle as well, because for the entirety of the game, remember, MVP Black were abusing the extended pushing power that Tassadar has over Malthael, and that was the story of the entire game, really. And perhaps Miracle should have been a little bit more proactive and a bit faster in dealing with that pushing power mismatch in the top lane, perhaps by doing a lane swap. And I'm doubly disappointed by MVP Miracle's relative inactivity in that match, because remember, if you recall back to 2 days before against L5, they were actually the ones to utilize a lane swap, so they are cognizant of that strategy. They just didn't use it in the last game.
Yeah, that's right, and maybe by the time they figured out the game was already over, maybe they were just waiting for 10, the perfect time for Dami to actually engage. Before that, he has less of a tool to actually engage and sustain himself. They had double support, but Black really abused that mismatch in the top lane with having Falstead coming up. Also, they were looking for the dive in, and Dami knew that was coming too. At least he didn't die in the solo lane too much. But that was the end of game 2, and now we're going into game number 3. Infernal Shrine once more today.
Infernal Shrines, another map in which MVP Black have always considered their own. And remember, we have 2 very good Kerrigan players, possibly the 2 very best Kerrigans in the world on both sides today. So I am personally looking forward to seeing that Kerrigan, and considering that Tassadar is solidly back in the meta, that raises the chances of there being a Kerrigan in this game.
Let's see. From what I remember, Kerrigan does not have the best win rate in Korea, and a lot less of a pick rate too, especially after all the melee assassins came back into the meta. Used to be picked a lot in phase number 1, but not anymore. There's the Ariel ban from the beginning, leaving Illidan up in the air for now.
So MVP Miracle decided to change their approach to this draft. And this could signal 2 things, because obviously MVP Miracle would be looking for the first pick Genji, and MVP Black has no intention of letting that happen. But yeah,
this is exactly why, if you leave Genji open, we'll take it. If you leave Illidan open, we'll take it. Dami on his old favorite Illidan is here in his hands.
We like to talk about Rich's Illidan often, but Dami has always been a fantastic Illidan player as well. So very happy to see that come out. MVP Black, if they want to play it standard and somewhat similar to the last game, then they can go for the Tassadar Vala again. Always a solid pick. Tassadar has always been stellar on this map in general. But Malthael immediately, and Malthael Tyrael, this seems to be a trend amongst the 2 MVP teams. Both teams seem to be believing that Tyrael and Malthael should be picked together in the same composition.
Yes, whenever available, and they're always looking for those angels.
Also, Tyrael is a good takeaway for MVP Miracle, since always great with Illidan.
Sure, and he can also help with the dive, but also protect the back line when Illidan comes in. I think Black will bring out their favorite old TTST Arthas with those perfect roots every single time, and with Sanctification, with even more protection. They are actually not picking the support though. Usually it has been oftentimes Stitches along with a support pair, but not this time, as they're going against their sister team. The draft has been a little bit weird compared to all the patterns they did before against all the other teams.
And as predicted, since MVP Black didn't take the Tassadar in the first rotation, MVP Miracle decided to go with the Tassadar to pair alongside the Illidan. An interesting takeaway. Malfurion, not a support that you see too often, and I was actually predicting that Miracle would take some other support, probably Uther or Rhaegar, then ban away the Malfurion, so Kyocha would have to play a different support, but instead they decide to go about it in this manner, which opens up their second ban. So overall, I don't disagree with this at all. Sniper has always been a solid Tassadar player as well.
That's right. And double support with an Illidan, it seems very safe already. They're hiding their tank, and the last two picks can just be double tanks coming out from Miracle. So Black thinking Witch Dive, but going to be a Nubarak for now. They were also considering Diablo as APOC in that shrine when they have to fight. Those zoning will be very effective and make more space actually for Illidan to dive in. That was the thing. But for now, it will be a Nubarak. That Cocoon seems very strong in this meta for sure. And Miracle going into the support choke. It's real, banning out Uther.
So it seems that MVP Miracle want MVP Black to play Rhaegar, and I believe that MVP Black probably foresaw the Uther second ban, so the Nubarak ban was actually a response, a pre-mediated response to that Uther second ban, because they were going to be forced to play Rhaegar, remember, and Rhaegar is such a terrible pick against Nubarak most of the time. So I believe that was the line of thinking that both teams were using in this second ban rotation, and now MVP Black, hopefully they will lock in the Rhaegar, but I guess they could go for something more funky. They go with the Rhaegar and also Falstad.
This time it will be on Socket. They still prefer global in Infernal Shrines, and we saw lots of Socket just split soaking the entire time and joining, having the perfect flight positioning. I think that makes a huge difference. Coming in for the save and to engage. And also just bringing the Rhaegar, not Kyocha's favorite, but still pretty decent Rhaegar. They may actually go with double support once more.
A lot of things they can go for right now, and in response, MVP Miracle gleaming Diablo. So the Diablo hover from MVP Black was also justified in that sense, and Judy played a pretty decent Diablo in game 1, so hopefully he will repeat that performance, but with more measured engages.
And bringing in that favorite Li Ming from Crazy Moving. And Judy on that Diablo seemed pretty solid, and with that Diablo pick, they're bringing more percentage damage. There's the Taikas again. Similar draft actually coming out from Black from game number 1 and 3 here. Which draft do you like better?
Overall, judging from the performances that both teams showed in the last 2 games, I would tend to think that MVP Black has the slightly better draft, but it's Dami's Illidan, and that's such a huge question mark.
Yes, it's Dami's Illidan with the double support. Can MVP Miracle come back into the series? They are down 0-2. Let's go into game number 3, Infernal Shrines. In blue, MVP Black. We set on Taika, Sake on Falstad, Kyocha on Rhaegar, Rich on Martheo, Test on Tyrael.
And in red, we see MVP Miracle with Judy on Diablo, Dami on Illidan, Jaehyun on Malfurion, Crazy Moving on Li Ming, and Sniper on Tassadar. So considering what we said multiple times in the series before now, even in the matchup with RR versus Raven, Illidan, once he gets access to the hunt, very decent dive potential onto the solo lane Falstad if paired up with a dive buddy such as Genji. So I was somewhat hoping to see a little bit more aggressive assassin in the last pick rotation for MVP Miracle, something that can go in towards the Falstad alongside Illidan. But instead, Crazy Moving decides to go with the Li Ming, and I can't say I disagree with that. Crazy Moving has always loved Li Ming, and it was so good that MVP Black decided to dedicate a second respect ban towards that in the first game.
Yep, that too. And maybe they thought Judy's Diablo could be enough along with the hunt from Dami coming in. I mean, Falstad is pretty squishy in terms of the HP pool. So Dami and Diablo could be enough damage to actually get a kill. Maybe that's the line of thinking or what they're thinking. The root misses there, but doesn't matter too much.
Generally, when you see a Diablo and Malfurion paired up together, you would see the side with both of those heroes try to go around and get early picks in those early game rotations. But since the other two heroes, minus the solo laner, are Tassadar and Li-Ming, they are less likely.
Oh, this is baited by MVP Black. Jaehyun is looking for his life here as he will go down with Kyoto's dive at the very end.
So very good rotation from MVP Black to deny that combo.
It seemed like Reset was off position and Judy just was caught on that bait. Wow. Wasn't really much of a miscommunication or lack of correlation. It was just well done by Black. That bait was well done. And if they can get a pick onto Saki, which they will be looking forward to, because Dami is on Illidan and there are lots of CCs available for them.
Overall, the cutoff onto Malfurion won't matter too much as MVP Miracle decide to move upon the shrine with Li-Ming finish shoving in the bottom wave.
The shrine control, of course, is towards MVP Black. They are up 15 in numbers, but here comes Dami's Illidan harassing the entire back line. They are picking up the numbers.
MVP Miracle catching up on the Guardian count. Both teams are now ready to dedicate themselves to a team fight.
So level 4, Dami diving in with the shield available, just getting so much damage from Crazy Moving though.
5 left from MVP Black, and MVP Miracle suddenly decide to back off. So I don't think they were too confident in their chances in this early team fight. Can't blame them too much for taking the lower risk strategy.
And this first Punisher doesn't do too much if they can, and they have a lot of pokes to actually defend against it, so it's an okay trade.
Overall, going to be a solid defense.
They will lose. They will lose somewhat, but rather than losing your teammate, I think it's a better call there because they were losing in number from the beginning. And Reset off to the side, Sake onto the back line. They were onto pretty good positioning, and Diablo really couldn't find the angle of diving in. I think that was the biggest one.
So overall, through that Punisher phase, they lose 2 outer turrets and half a wave down at the bottom side of the map. So overall, solid defense. MVP Miracle won't be too harangued about this.
Losing this camp can be a little more painful, especially when there's a global against them. Because they have been pushing on top because Rich has been pushing consistently against Dami. Dami's Illidan on top lane.
Overall, very passive, boring kind of early game coming out from both sides, simply because the side with the pick composition doesn't really want to commit to those picks after having experienced bad things happening to Malfurion in their rather clumsy attempt to get a pick in the early game. So until the next Shrine phase, I don't think anything extraordinary is going to happen. Illidan now moving into the Bruiser camp. He will brawl it slightly slower compared to MVP Black, but it won't be too much of a difference either.
Yep, and the difference is, the only difference we can find is some of the structures down, and which is causing Miracle to have less EXP right now, and Black up about half a lead. With this rotation though, they are actually going up, and the perfect spawn for them too. They can pressure this one a little bit more as Falstad will be soaking in from the bottom, can fly in any time.
Overall, if this Shrine phase extends too much, then MVP Black will obviously be the first. Oh, but gets a solo kill onto Li-Ming.
How did that happen? Wow.
We didn't see the very beginning of that fight, so it's difficult to say for sure, but overall, I think Crazy Moving overextended a bit too greedily, and he had to know that Falstad was rotating down to the bottom lane before he possibly flighted upwards. So
yeah, it was the only way that he was supposed to go there too. So I'm not quite sure what happened onto Crazy Moving's death there, but that's okay, and because of that, they will lose to Shrine for sure. So instead of fighting for it, just pushing this bottom lane for the later cause and try to soak up for 10. I think that's what Miracle is trying to do right now.
Most likely they are going to forfeit the entire top fort and instead aim to take down this fort and exchange forts, letting them to get to level 10. It's not going to do much to alleviate the experience gap, but at least they will be able to take level 10. But again, MVP Black staying ahead in the rotations, reading what MVP Miracle wants to do, so they will fail to get the fort trade that they wanted. And now, huge lead for MVP Black.
And also Rich was trying to look at the angle. He could have dived, he could have dove in, but now Miracle hit 10. They were waiting for this moment for such a long time. And there's a wall coming out for lots of damage. They do have a lot of damage. With the Twilight Dream, APOC, of course, the wall can help a little bit more when they want to land on those stuns from Apocalypse from Diablo.
Oh, this could be discovered. It is.
It is, and they're making the rotations down, though, for Black side. Dami's trying to look for the kill. There's the Gus, secures the camp anyhow.
Both sides won't be too angry with how that happened. Sake secures the camp. Dami baits out the Gust. MVP Miracle now looking for a team fight, though.
Sniper had to use the shift. He was not too safe on his path there. Montville actually caught him.
So interesting to see how Judy learned his lesson from game 1. Had it been game 1, I think he would have just charged in right there and attempted to force open a team fight. That doesn't happen in this game, though. He is being much more measured, much more defensive with his engages, but he does it again.
But there's a counter engage from Rich. Tormented Soul pops out. He is sustaining himself and doing tons of damage to Judy. The wall comes down, the hunt comes in, but the Sanctification nullifies the Twilight Dream perfectly. How did he do that?
So very well played from MVP Black, but Judy will be just happy that he didn't fall there. It could have been very possible, and so
that timing was perfectly done. They didn't lose anyone, but overall more pressure, better trade, and got the camp, so better for Black for sure.
Also should be mentioned that Sniper taking Force Wall in this case also helped Judy survive a little bit. Illidan's Hunt is up again, so if they want to do anything funky before level 13 comes for MVP Black, the timing would have been now, but they don't decide.
It's way too close to 13, so I think they were a little bit, and Twilight Dream is still on cooldown, pretty long.
So decide to give it up the Shrine again, and this time they will definitely be able to turn this into a fort exchange, and this will net them the level 13 that they're looking for. So agreeable decision from MVP Miracle here, but Black.
Yep. I think
Black
this
decide to go upon the fort themselves prematurely as well, knowing that they're not coming onto the Shrine. So if MVP Miracle let this happen, let this go on for too long, then the Punisher could very well take the key.
Yes, I think Black, knowing that they are just outsmarting them at the moment, Black, if you let them, they won't just take one thing off of you. They will take multiple and as many as they can off of you, and they are making this push as strong as possible, and Miracle has to come and defend now. Glad that Illidan is onto the other side, also took the cam and joined in the team fight anytime with the hunt.
So Dami is going to stay there, split pushing. Let's see how this works out for them. I am personally not too convinced, but they managed to lead the Punisher in the favorable direction, so well done by MVP Miracle there.
He charges in and gets cleansed, then he will pop that Tormented Soul. Gets silenced though, there's the hunt, Ancestral does not connect. This is a big change coming out from Miracle. They can defend this easy now.
Really good hunt, and very slightly late from Kyocha, so essentially what MVP Miracle attempted with the support choke in the draft worked out. They obviously knew that Malfurion was Kyocha's best support, and their second ban Uther indicated that Uther was Kyocha's second best support, so they forced him onto Rehgar, and perhaps his lack of familiarity on the hero was what led him to be slightly late on that Ancestral.
Well done by Miracle there, and also having that Force Wall, I think it will help a lot more when we see a lot more dives in from Rich like that without the sustain. They have so much CCs, the Hunt coming in, APOC, the Twilight Dream Rich also has to be careful, and you just saw that in the last team fight happening. And Miracle with that defended their keep. That was the most important thing there.
So overall, slight bit of over-aggression from Rich, a disappointing Ancestral, and really good Twilight Dream coming out from MVP Miracle. However, MVP Black are still solidly in the lead. Their keep is healthier, and they are still a level ahead as well.
Let's see.
This Bruiser Camp pressure on the top side of the map, though, will let them posture aggressively towards the bottom side of the map for a short moment, though, so that will be something MVP Miracle will want to do in the near future.
Also, talent down, and against the holy ground available for Tush, you do not want to go in there and risk it at all. And Illidan will be soaking in for the time being on top, so they can wait a little bit, but if they keep on losing, getting the pressures against them, lose the macro fight, even if you have Illidan on the other side, that's the big news. And even if you have get 20, I think it's a better news for Black actually, because you get that big power spike onto Martheo. Even better, with Epic Mount, they can out-rotate so much.
And this is a shrine that MVP Miracle will now finally want to contest. They have been avoiding these shrine battles all game long, but I don't think they will want to do so for this one. All of them are moving towards the top. Falstad looking to clear the waves on the bottom, and if they can get a pick here before Falstad comes.
They're looking for the great cleanse, and just actually diving in, using that holy ground offensively. Reset doing tons of damage on the back line. That holy ground displacing the entire team, and Tust is the target. Seems like they're going in. Ancestral connects, does not even drop the Sanctification. He knows, now he does. Sake comes from the side, flight into the gust, and there's a kill onto Leeming already. The entire team of Miracle are so low.
Really solid Sanctification, almost nullifying all of what MVP Miracle wanted to do in that team fight. Great timing from Sake to join the team fight on Falstad as well. And Rehgar running back to the shrine to secure the Punisher. They are in no hurry. They can whittle down the top keep and back off at the right moment so that they can potentially make a rush at the core when the Punisher spawns. They could always go for the classic third. Oh, but they get a pick onto Rich, but only two members up.
No damage to follow up at all. And they're making this push even more because Rehgar has been clearing this, and Tust, the use of those holy ground bought them so much time for Falstad to fly over and land in that gust. And by that time, they were winning the team fight because of that zoning too.
So this use of Tyrael in this game has been immaculate. Falstad chipping away at the middle fort again, and MVP Miracle do or die time as Falstad joins the fight again.
There comes in a lot of the heroes actually on cooldown still. There's a hunt on to reset, but no follow-up at all. There's a Twilight Dream onto 3, but no following up damage. The Holy Ground is there to protect. Wall is used and seems to be Rich. Rich blows up, and it's going to be more kills. Reset comes in for Li Ming. Ancestral
now available, but TTSSC will not be able to get it. It lands onto Reset.
3v4, trade value coming in, and Clean Moving gets the damage. Odin gets another kill. They want to turn this around, and Judy is still safe. Crazy Moving is looking for that angle to hit all the skill shots, but they are backing off.
Everything landed onto Judy. And instant there gets the kill onto Judy as well.
Tosses a minion.
Do they want to chase?
They can. They're 20. Sake is coming in. Has the Epic Mount too, I believe.
Crazy Moving. Why would you want to
go
for
and
it
body
there?
block. Not enough damage for Jaehyun actually. The slow maybe enough. Ice block. There's a grenade available for reset, I believe. Maybe not.
Totem doing nice work there, but the ice block canceling it out. But overall, a bad team fight from MVP Miracle, although they had no choice but to take it. Still, this is going to probably be a bottom fort. MVP Miracle not going to attempt to take out 11 more Guardians before MVP Black can get to it. So overall, MVP Black are now going to take the Punisher, make a push at the top keep, which is, remember, already whittled down to some extent. There is no outer wall protecting it.
That's
so
right.
it's probably going to be a keep. And also, Sake, he is going to want to head down to the bottom part of the map and take that keep as well. So at most 2 keeps, at least 1 keep.
That's for sure. And they got the camp to actually relieve the pressure at least a little bit to buy time. So Illidan can join in anytime, but still Miracle not even level 19. If they lose any members, just like in game number 2, it will be core, and Black will be looking for that for sure.
And both heroes with globals stationed around the bottom side of the map. MVP Miracle, again, do a great job of drawing the Punisher towards their more protected keep, so good on them. But this is not going to protect the top keep from falling.
Yeah, and Sake has been working on this keep, and it's very low. It will be going down for sure. It seems like 2 keeps. Dami comes in, but there's the Gust, and Epic Mount will save himself.
So everything worked out as planned for MVP Black. 2 keeps up now, having access to virtually all the mercenary camps as well. MVP Miracle still have some time to go before hitting level 20. And the larger problem is that I don't think they get a huge burst of power from hitting level 20, except for the playmaking potential of Repulsion. Because it's not an Archon Tassadar, they're not going to get access to Twilight Archon, it's just the Force Wall.
Nope. Yes, that's going to be somewhat effective, especially when Rich tries to dive in. If he's away from the target, he cannot sustain himself. Repulsion will be effective, but if they hit 20, they will very soon, but with 2 keeps down, with Epic Mount against you, the hunt is available, but I think Falstad goes on top in the macro games.
Judy looking to get a pick onto Reset. And Reset keeping his distance. And MVP Black don't really have a good reason to let MVP Miracle open up a team fight right now, so they're going to just play the safe standard macro game. It's going to be a rather boring couple of minutes until the next shrine opens, but the tension is real.
Yeah,
MVP Miracle, not a lot of things they can do, honestly.
All they can do is try to catch up with the macro and defend, but if they continue doing that, they will be losing even more macro when the next shrine happens. And they may have to hearth back home when they try to keep punishing. Because Falstad can also backdoor anytime with the Epic Mount when the lanes are pushing.
So the top lane pressure is going to be real for MVP Miracle, and they will be happy that, oh, they attempt to get a pick onto Tyrael.
Lens
not
onto
going to work.
Tist. Seems like that's enough, and just like we mentioned, the backdoor is coming. Falstad has been pushing the top lane with the camp.
There is no real good answer to it. Of course, global pressure from Dami's improved hunt.
So Twilight Dream does silence a lot, but APOC misses. There's a kill onto Marthiel. Without Falstad, their Ancestral does connect, but Odin, can he do it? A lot of his members down. Sake comes in from the side, but Lair losing too many members. The Gust for the disengage, but Reset will be going down. Another reset for Crazy moving. There's the body block, and Tist will be going down also. And only one remaining alive is Sake from MVP Black.
4 down on the side of MVP Black. MVP Miracle did not lose a single member. They will probably now go for the top keep, looking for the immediate core rush. They can definitely do it. Falstad attempting to answer it with his own split push as well. And MVP Miracle's core is dropping down from the top lane catapults.
It's down to 52%, so Illidan had to go back. Dami's already on there, so Falstad cannot actually go pressure too much onto the core. He has to make the decision. Gust available in 14. He comes back home. Is it going to be enough? And Miracle seems like they are going all the way in.
Gust in 10.
The hunt was used to false it. I think this can be actually enough. Rich comes back. Tormented Soul can be used. Is that going to be enough? Let's see. There's the charge in. And seems like Miracle will actually take this one. We're very close to it. Loses Diablo 30%. They're diving into the core.
The Gust was good, but it can't deter
7%,
Illidan's dive.
4%. The damage will be enough with Dami and Sniper remaining alive. Game 3 goes to Miracle, and this may be the comeback into the series.
huge comeback victory from MVP Miracle. They were 2 keeps down, had virtually no way of coming back into the game if not for winning a huge team fight, but they managed to pull it off, getting a perfect pick onto Maltheo, Dami's Hunt landing at the perfect moment, and to be honest, Ancestral a bit late onto Maltheo as usual, as it has been for this game. So not too impressive by MVP Black in the last moments of the game, but overall their macro game has been solid. Unfortunately, MVP Miracle can equal them in team fights as it turns out. And Dami's Illidan, we talked about this before this game. It was a huge question mark. Overall, MVP Black's draft was solid, but Dami's Illidan made the difference.
Yeah, those Hunt at the time being, and he was always split pushing, and I don't think he died too many times. When he was split pushing, I don't think he died even once, only in the team fights, and he was diving in. Using that Hunt to CC, the focus firing was awesome, but sometimes what to do right after the focus fire was what made the Black available really to turn the fight around, and they did most of the time. But when Rich gets picked off just like that so many times, maybe at the late game when your respawn timers is close to a minute or so, then Miracle also can get a game off of you, and that's what exactly happened in Game 3.
Overall, I think MVP Miracle will be galvanized going into the next game, and also they will feel very good about their support joke that they attempted in the draft of Game 3. So something that MVP Black has to be more wary about in the next draft, and MVP Miracle will most likely attempt to replicate that. So perhaps we will see even a first pick support coming out from MVP Miracle in the next draft, because that was so huge. Had those few missed Ancestrals connected, the game could have been completely different.
Because they lost Maltheo from the beginning, Rich dying all the time, could not even pop the Tormented Soul with so many CC, with the burst coming in. It's really hard to time Ancestral where there's so many CCs and the burst onto your ally there. Of course, Ancestral, if it went in, if it was timed even before they charged in, which is a very difficult job for Kyocha. But with that game number 1-3 going to Miracle, we're jumping into game number 4. It is going to be Sky Temple, which both MBT